In 1597, a play called Romeo and Juliet was made. It may seem like an old play that cannot be compared in this day and age, but in reality, some of its main ideas are very relevant and obvious in plays, books, and stories today. So I'm going to be talking about my book, Swagger, and how it connects to Romeo and Juliet. But I'm going to give you a little summary about Swagger. It was about a high school boy named Jonas who played high school basketball, but his dream job was to work for his dad at his construction business. And then he knew that he possibly could make it to the NBA or go collegiate, which is college, but as everybody knows, hardly nobody makes it unless you're really, really that good. So Jonas decided to take his talent, I guess you could say, and work for his dad's construction business. But then it got to the point where his dad got injured and sick and he couldn't work for the business anymore. So the business let him go, which decided to change Jonas' mind because he wanted to work for his dad but not work for the company without his dad. So his basketball coach told him, Jonas, you have a chance to make maybe not D1 basketball, but maybe D2, and then you might have a chance to go to the NBA undrafted or something, or that way. Now you might be wondering, how does that connect to Romeo and Juliet? Well, Romeo liked Rosaline, which is Jonas wanting to work for his dad's construction company. But then Rosaline didn't like Romeo, which is kind of like his dad getting let go from his job, which kind of like Romeo got separated from Rosaline for her not liking him, and then Jonas's dad leaving the business, which kind of set Jonas away back from the business. And then Mercutio told Romeo to go to the Capulet party that they were invited to try and beat somebody else, which is kind of like Jonas's basketball coach telling him, you have a chance to make D2, try it, and you might be able to go pro. So Mercutio ended up convincing Romeo to go to the Capulet party. But at the party, Romeo ended up beating Juliet, which started something really good. But then that compares to Jonas because his basketball career, I guess you could say, ended up, I'm gonna say exploding, it got a ton better than how he thought it was gonna be. But now, how I explain Swagger, Drew's gonna explain how Romeo and Juliet compares to his book, Ember in the Ashes.
Another connection that can be made in both the play Romeo and Juliet and the book An Ember in the Ashes is when Romeo wants to be free of Rosaline. That's basically like in the book An Ember in the Ashes when Elias wants to be free of the Empire. And so they both decide that to be free, they have to basically seek out a girl, and that basically frees them. So in Romeo's case, he seeks out Juliet, and she was much better than Rosaline in his opinion. So he was free from Rosaline. And in Elias's case, he sought out Laia, and they both helped each other escape from the Empire, and they both became free. So in the beginning of the play Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare, Romeo is very depressed because he loves Rosaline, but Rosaline doesn't love him back at all. So he basically can't think of anything else but Rosaline, and he just mopes around all day wishing he could have her. This is somewhat like the book An Ember in the Ashes, because in the beginning, Elias is in love with this one girl that is in love with him as well. But as he goes on in life, he realizes that this girl is not the right one for him at all, because she's a soldier and that's what she is trained to do. And so in the very end of the book, he decides to choose the one girl, Laia, the slave girl, over Helen, because she is ultimately the better choice for him. And this is kind of what Romeo did in the play Romeo and Juliet, because Romeo decided that he would take Juliet instead of Rosaline, because she ultimately would be the better choice for him, and he wouldn't have to be depressed over Rosaline anymore. Both Romeo and Juliet have main ideas that are portrayed throughout their stories. They both talk about freedom and characters weighing their choices, then pursuing their dreams. So you see, Romeo and Juliet can be compared to stories today, including the books Swagger and An Ember in the Ashes.